Hey there, Sagittarius. Welcome to your December 8th through the 14th, the general love reading. It's Keaghan. It's good to see you again if you've been here before, and if you're new here, sit back and enjoy your reading. I hope you enjoy it. I'm just going to give the cards a bit of a shuffle here on camera. I did shuffle before sitting down to film. I'm going to be covering energy for you for the second week of December. This is for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Venus, and Rising signs. Crosswatchers, you're welcome, but be sure that you are watching at your own risk. Keep in mind the general readings. Energies can be reversed. Don't get hung up on the genders. Take what resonates with you. Leave the rest. Don't try to force anything, and please do not make any huge major life decisions based on a general reading on YouTube. Okay. I'm going to move these decks out of my way for just a moment. I'm going to give my Oracle deck a cut here. Get you an Oracle guidance to start the week with. And then we'll get one to end the week as well. I hope you guys have been doing well. December is going well for you so far. Just one more cut. I'm going to take 5 cards here. Okay. And then I'm going to take my other deck. We're going to get some clarifying energy for these cards. Okay. So it's been interesting doing the weekly readings this month. For some of the signs, I'm definitely doing continuation energy from the readings that I did for the first week of December. Some of them have been brand new. If I remember correctly, this looks like it's probably a continuation for you, Saggies, from the energy of the reading for December 1st through the 7th. We're just going to start here with the Oracle card, and then we'll work our way across. So your card here says, in any moment I can surrender to the powerful presence of love through prayer, contemplation, and stillness. It's very interesting here because you do have the 4 of Swords coming out. So I do feel that you're very much in a place of thinking things through, contemplating things, being a bit pulled back. That definitely resonates with the energy of the reading for the first week. It's also very interesting here, not to jump ahead too much, but you do have the 6 of Cups coming out, clarifying that 4 of Swords energy. For me, this just represents you have someone from the past that's on your mind. You're thinking about something from the past, a relationship from the past, and you really are trying to figure out how you can manage to reconnect yourself into this. That's why I'm saying this feels like it's a continuation of the energy. Let's start here on the left. This is going to represent the energy at the very beginning of the week. We'll work our way across all the way through to the end and see where you end up in terms of the Oracle card. First card out here, you have the 5 of Swords. It's come out here reversed. This is a situation of reconciliation, making amends, seeking an apology, giving an apology, seeking forgiveness, forgiving yourself. It's very much that type of energy of looking at any sort of past pain, resentments, anger that you have and figuring out how to process it. Now, you do have the Sun card here underneath that as a supportive energy of that endeavor. The Sun card, when it's reversed, for me as a reader, I don't have the Sun card represent anything that's necessarily negative. For me as a reader, it just represents a slight delay. So this is going to be something that it's going to take you a little bit of time to process through. But you are going to realize, with the Sun here coming into support, you're going to realize that it's under your control. It's interesting energy because it feels very much to me, Sag, that what you really want, what you're trying to accomplish, is to reconnect yourself back into the good times, to the happy feelings, to the fond memories, to when this was something that wasn't as messy and painful as what it feels like it turned into. It's not going to be something that happens, however, from thinking about it and trying to work your way back into it. There is so much that I feel has happened here. This 5 of Swords gives a history of a pretty major conflict, something that was very painful, that really took a toll on you. Um, it's a situation where you aren't going to be able to just trick yourself into feeling better about this. You're not going to be able to talk yourself into it. You really have to figure out how to either forgive this and move forward, or to admit that this is something you can't overcome and to kind of give up on it. Again, I feel like your goal, your objective, what you really want to accomplish is to figure out how to reestablish this connection in some way. Keep in mind, energies can be reversed. It's very interesting because even though this Four of Swords is upright, what I'm getting because of this combination with the Six of Cups is it's almost like you're stuck. This is kind of confusing energy here. So if the if the Four of Swords, sorry, is reversed, um, it's being in a place where you're just really sort of like burnt out. I don't feel that. It's like you're still able to be in this energy and process it. You're hanging out here. The Six of Cups, if it were reversed, represents someone who's living in the past in like a bad way. Both of these cards here, as you can see, are upright, but I'm getting the same type of energy. What's interesting is like you just keep replaying the good times. You keep replaying the good times over and over and over. And it's almost like you're avoiding, in a way, dealing with the bad stuff. Um, it's very interesting because in last week's reading, it was an energy of having just decided to ignore this, go out, have fun, have adventures, focus on that, and getting to a place where you're like, I need to deal with this. What I'm getting now is as you're trying to deal with this, you're still avoiding dealing with the pain. You're still avoiding dealing with the hurt. You're still avoiding dealing with the anger that you have, the sense of betrayal that you have. But even in trying to avoid that, the underlying goal here really is to try to figure out how to fix it. Um, but there's no way to fix this without dealing with the bad stuff. And right now, I feel like you're just sort of hanging out, reminiscing, thinking about the good times, remembering the good memories, and you're hoping that that softens you in some way, that creates a situation where you turn around your energy and you're no longer angry, you're no longer hurt. But that's just simply not how this is going to work out for you. That's not the path that has to happen in order to clear it. Now, I do eventually see you getting to a point where you find closure on this, and it's an interesting journey of how you reach that point over here. Let's talk about this Knight of Pentacles. It's come out reversed here. Um, what I get primarily from this card is just feeling stuck, really feeling just it's interesting. It's you're battling between this notion of trying to make this, whatever this connection was, whatever this relationship was for you, you're battling between trying to make it go back to being perfect. You're looking at all the good times and you're comparing the relationship to that and saying, well, I want that again. I want all of that. But no relationship is all good all the time, right? You're realizing that, but you're just not ready. You're not ready to deal with the harder stuff. You're not ready to deal with that pain. You have the Six of Coins here underneath that. There are a couple of things with this. Number one, I feel like from your perspective, Sagittarius, this was something that, again, from your perspective, and I'm speaking directly to Sagittarius here because this is how they feel. From your perspective, this was something where you feel like you gave more than you got. Now, the reality of that may or may not be true because sometimes our perception of things can we have our own perception, we have our own experience. But I do feel very strongly for the Sagittarians who are listening to me. You felt like this was something where you were really trying, you were really putting in the effort, you really did care, and it wasn't returned. It wasn't returned to you. There were moments, there were times where like it feels like the good times were so good. The good times were so amazing. The good times were so wonderful. That's what I'm talking about here, where this card is focusing on like the perfection of the relationship. but you're avoiding all of the other parts to it, because if you face those things, then you're in a situation where eventually you have to make a decision. You have to make a choice about whether this relationship really was more good or whether it was more toxic. And right now I feel like you're just a little bit confused about it and you feel stuck. This energy here, I think, becomes your turning point, to be quite honest with you. I'm going to talk about this Nine of Coins first. This Nine of Coins here, since this does feel very much like a love reading, I'm going to read it a little bit more in that vein versus looking at it as, work or career or anything like that. But traditionally, this represents a situation in which you're over investing in something, particularly work traditionally, and you're having to realize that your own self-worth, your own self-care also has an importance here. This also is a card that represents having a certain type of determination and hustle. It's interesting. This is very Sagittarian energy because you guys do not like feeling stuck. I think you get to this place where you're hoping this first approach works. You're hoping you can just get your energy to go back to the way it was. It's not working for you. You try to just think about all the good, and you're hoping focusing on the good is going to make you feel differently than you do. But eventually you get to the point where that is not fun anymore, and you have a pretty quick shift. You realize that you're putting too much thought into trying to heal this without having any sort of action, and you do begin to take action forward. You have the Queen of Pentacles here. She's shown up upright. This is actually a really cool energy for you guys to end up in after all of this. The Queen of Pentacles is someone who is very caring, very nurturing, but they're also very practical. They realize that having something develop that is stable, having something develop that is secure, a true commitment, a true partnership, that it does take work. It takes a lot of effort. And the Queen of Pentacles realizes that things are not always going to be wonderful. Things are not always going to be perfect. Things are not always going to be good. What matters is how we deal with those things when things do go wrong. I feel very much like as you start to reflect later in the week on this, you'll begin to see that, yes, the good times when there weren't challenges or obstacles that were in the way, this relationship was really good. This relationship had a lot of potential. This relationship was something that made you very happy. But in the times when things were challenging, when there were issues, when there were arguments, when there were fights, when there were conflicts and things to deal with, you're going to look back on this and realize that those were really the times where I feel both people in this relationship struggled to deal with those things. You really start to reflect back on it. If you look at this queen, what I love about this illustration, she's holding her pentacle and she's looking at it. She's thinking about this. What I get here is that, number one, this is you looking at the actual relationship. You're looking at it from the totality of it, the wholeness of that relationship. You really do shift out of this energy of trying to only focus on the good, and you start to evaluate the relationship as a whole. The other thing I get to this is as you are holding your pentacle, as you're thinking about it and you're contemplating whether you want to extend it forward or whether you want to keep it close, you're actually thinking about what it is that you want, how you want this relationship to be. If you do give it another try, you're really starting to get clear about the things that would need to shift, the things that would need to change. You begin to actually think about something in terms of the conversation you would need to have with this person. I do feel that for a lot of you during this week, you will be considering reaching out to this person. You will be considering extending some sort of communication. Or for another group of you, it might be where you decide that it's just not something that you want to extend. I'm probably going to look at this energy here, this end of the week energy, to check it out. I've sort of jumped ahead a little bit here in talking, but I'll explain it. So you have the World card coming out, and that's why I'm saying I do see this making a decision here. The World card represents something coming to a completion, having an accomplishment of sorts. I do feel like that's around this energy and this queen who's contemplating what to do with that pentacle. Underneath that, you have the Two of Swords, which is reversed, and that's being in a place of confusion and indecision. Feeling like you aren't really sure how to move forward, what to do. It's that stalemate energy. So as you are in the stalemate energy, that's what's around this. this is a kind of an interesting energy here in terms of these cards, because um, there is going to be something that closes out. There will be something that is completed here. But right underneath this, before you get to that point, the energy that you're actually in within this is that I don't know what to do. I'm not sure what to do. So I am going to clarify this particular zone towards the end of the week to see if we can clear that up a little bit, because that's a little confusing. Let's take a look first, though, at the Oracle card for the end of the week. You have the presence of love will always cast out fear. Look at this. Beginning of the week, surrender to the powerful presence of love. By the end of the week, the presence of love is with you by the end of the week. This is very interesting. I'm going to use my Rider-Waite deck. Give it a couple of shuffles really quickly. I know you guys want me to clarify that. I can sense it. Clarify the Two of Swords. Why is the Two of Swords reversed? Well, you have a lot of cards here. All of these cards sort of came out like this, but I instinctively wanted to turn them this way, so we're going to go with this. You have the Ten of Wands here upright, the Three of Pentacles also upright, and the Ace of Wands. So let's talk about this. I think part of what this indecision is exactly what I was talking about. The Ten of Wands is a situation in which something feels like a burden. It's hard. You're realizing that this is hard work. This is, relationships are hard work, and they're not always going to be fun and rosy. It's very interesting because from the week before, the energy for that reading was very much like, okay, having fun is not fun anymore. Having these superficial connections isn't fun for me anymore. I need a certain type of depth. But what you're realizing here is that while you had that depth with this person, whoever they were, this relationship, it was hard. It was challenging. It was a lot of, I sensed so much triggering of each other within this relationship. But ultimately, even though you become aware of this, the thing that shifts you, Three of Pentacles is about collaborating with someone, teamwork, partnership, implementation of something. And then you have the Ace of Wands, which is also upright, and this represents a new opportunity, something that has the potential for growth. I think, Sagittarius, what I'm seeing here really is that after you've done your thinking, after you've sort of analyzed the situation, when you shift out of the energy of just trying to force yourself to feel different, and you actually do embrace the fact that you were disappointed in a lot of the things that happened here, you were hurt by a lot of the things that happened here, but you become aware that there is still love present. You still have feelings of love regarding this person, even though it hasn't gone the way that you necessarily want it to. When you think about this person, you think of them fondly. When this person pops into your head, your instinct really is to try to remember them in a good light. Your instinct really is to try to remember the good times. The issue that you're facing is that that can't be the only thing that you think about, because there is a lot here that has to be healed. There are conversations here that would have to be had with one another. We're at 18 minutes. I think what I want to do, let's see. I'm going to get a different deck. I think a lot of you are wondering about this other person, whether they would be responsive to you reaching out. Where are they energetically? It's interesting because they did not really show up here. But I think part of that is because I sense from, your energy and from the reading from last week, I don't think that you guys are in a situation where you've really been in communication. I don't feel like you really know what is going on with this person. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? So let's see what wants to come out just about this other person. Okay. Any energy. Okay. So this card just sort of flew out here. It's the Nine of Swords. It's reversed. This person's conflicted about the situation. This card represents having some pretty deep deeply rooted fears, being having a turmoil of sorts internally about how you feel about a situation. Um, 4, 5, and 9 of Swords. What's the 9 of Swords here? You have the 2 of Pentacles reversed as a clarifier for that. It's interesting, you know, the vibe of this, the vibe of this is very similar to what I was saying for you. This person feels like there's some mirroring going on here. I just have to tell you, because this person is really unsure about how they feel about you. When they think about things, they really do feel like they overcommitted to you. They feel like it wasn't as serious to you as it was to them, that they were putting in more than what they were getting. They really aren't, they're not clear about you. You have the Death card coming out reversed. This card does represent Scorpio. They aren't in a situation where they haven't let this go. This card represents holding on, fearing change. What I get from this is that this person is trying to deal with their own stuff. They're trying to process their own things. I do feel like this person has had a bit of a personal transformation and awareness within them about what their role was in the situation, the things that they did that contributed to this. They have done a lot of work in terms of learning about themselves and growing and changing. There is a personal transformation here, but their feelings about you are very conflicted and uncertain. But I feel like that's really because the two of you, I feel like there has not been communication or contact between these two people in quite some time. And so they really don't know what's going on with the other person. Like, you're not aware of the growth that they've had. They're not aware of the fact that you think about them in a fond way. That's too many cards. I will keep this one that flew out on its own. King of Cups here coming out. It's another card representing Scorpio. This is someone who is in a place where they are very emotionally balanced. They're compassionate, they're understanding. You have the Moon coming out reversed with the Chariot, along with this King. Ultimately, this person, Saggy, they are in a place where what I'm feeling here is that from your perspective, this person would have been someone who was extremely emotionally unbalanced. This person was someone who in the past was fairly dramatic. They aren't that way anymore. They're coming through as a King of Cups upright. Now with this Moon card here being reversed, again, this represents that notion of being confused internally, conflicted internally about what you want, but it also represents someone who is dealing with emotions at which they've tried to keep at bay. They're confronting those things. And it also represents a release of fear. When the Moon card is upright, it is sort of that unknown thing, things that are not known, which creates fear and anxiety. This person has healed that. With the Death card coming out reversed, the Moon card coming out reversed, and the Chariot represents someone who has taken action. They are much more disciplined, much more in control of themselves than they were. It's interesting. It feels almost like a shame that these two people would not at least sit down to try to communicate and talk things through. I feel so much growth on both sides from both people here. Let's just go through specific to communication. You have the Page of Pentacles here coming out, Princess in this deck. Here's what I'll say, Sag. The pages can represent communication. It's come out upright. One thing that I will say about the Page of Pentacles is that this is not the type of communication that would be like a text or an email. I would not recommend trying to have that be the main way of communicating. Now, you might have to send a text or an email in some way to, see if this person, to just get in touch with them. But in terms of the actual communication, this would represent for me more a face to face type of conversation, a telephone conversation, conversations that take time. What I'm feeling here is this would be a situation between these two people in which this would be multiple conversations. This would be talking about things and there being time that passed as these things were discussed. It's not something that is going to be solved by a quick thing. Going back to this energy, I feel like that's where you start the week, is thinking, well, maybe I can just send them something funny. Maybe I can just send them a memory that I have. Maybe that will be the thing that makes it easy to talk. Maybe, but you get to the point where you realize, no, there's actual serious stuff that needs to be discussed here, and it's not something that I can solve without dealing with that, without, doing the work, having the hard work, having those hard conversations. But I do feel like this person, they don't feel cut off from you. They feel very confused and conflicted about you. But I do think they would be receptive. And I do feel like, communication really is what's required here. That's the only way of getting resolution to this. And it's sort of a situation where you either have the conversation and it goes well, or you have the conversation and you realize that these two people, even though they've grown, potentially maybe they have not grown enough, or maybe even though they've grown, they're still just not compatible in terms of what they want or how they function within a relationship. But it is worth at least investigating. I feel that fairly strongly. So Saggies, this was kind of heavy. It's interesting doing readings for you guys and having them be this heavy and this contemplative and this serious. It's not that you guys aren't capable of this. You are definitely capable of this. But for the most part, you do like to keep your life fairly light and happy and focus on the fun things. But this makes me aware that this is something that was really significant to you. This is something that really did matter. I kind of want to just grab one more oracle card for you guys, just to wrap it up. Specific, since we did some energy around this person, I just want to see for them, actually. What I want for this oracle card is insight into their thinking, insight into their energy towards you, okay? I feel like they're hopeful. I feel like, from their perspective, it does feel like this having any sort of turnaround, this having any sort of end result that works out well, I think to them it feels far fetched. I think that they really do doubt that there is something that, could exist here. But there is a hope on their side. And, they would be open, they would be receptive. But again, I think you just have to approach them from a very serious energy. They would need to see that this is something that you're serious about, that you're ready to have the hard conversation. They would not. I don't think they would be receptive to something that would be like sweeping everything under the rug and just trying to move on from it. This would be something that would really require having a deep conversation and really addressing the truth of everything that happened here. But there is potential. So Saggies, I hope you enjoyed this reading. Again, it feels pretty heavy. My energy is kind of a little bit weird here, but if it resonated with you, please take a moment, leave me comments. Love reading your comments. Give the video a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. I love seeing the numbers grow and seeing people hanging out in the comments and talking and supporting each other. So any type of growth with the channel makes me super happy. Yeah, just be willing to deal with the harder stuff here, Sag, because I think there could be a potential payoff. It's a little bit too early to know for sure because you have to map out the plan of how to approach this person, but there's potential, and I think they would be receptive. Okay, I'll see you guys next week.